Hello, wherever you are. Now, in this short video, I'm going to show you how to set up a unit test inside of VS Code. It was one of the questions that one of my students asked me to do this morning, and I thought rather than sending him a long email explaining how it's done, I thought I'd do this little video just to show him. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Okay, so I'm going to go into here in a moment. What I'll do is I will take you through how I would do this. Okay, so we're going to go through this step by step for you. Right, first of all, I'm going to open up a PowerShell. All right, and I'm going to go into where my VS Code files are kept. So I'm going to go into CD source and then CD VS Code. This is where I keep all my projects. Now, I currently don't have anything in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder. So the folder I'm going to create is called My Calculator App. And this is going to be the solution folder for my overall project. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. Make directory, mkdir for make directory. And I'm going to call this My Calculator App, like so. Press return. Boom. That'll create the folder for me. So if I do a quick check inside my folder, and I'm doing all this in Windows, you can see that I've got a directory there called My Calculator App. So I'm going to CD, change directory, into there, and do a quick listing. Okay, so there's nothing inside my folder. By the way, I can see I'm in my folder because I'm using Oh My Posh. Love that software. Okay, so that's all set up. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is set up a project. And in order to set up the project, I'm going to use the .NET command. So I'm going to use .NET, and it's new console. I'm going to do -new, or -n rather. And then the name of the project that's going to be in My Calculator App is just going to be My Calculator. Okay, so it creates a boilerplate area of my calculator. I could have a look inside of there and see what we've got. So I'm just going to do a quick list, and you can see I've got a CS folder, sorry, CS file, a My Calculator CS project. So these are my project information, and I've also got a folder in there called OBJ. All right, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to open up VS Code in my Calculator App folder. All right, so where I intend to run the solution from. So I'm going to do code and then space dot. The dot represents the folder I'm currently in. Press return, and that should fire up VS Code. There you go. And you can see up here, it's actually recognized that I'm in a folder called My Calculator App. And sure enough, it's now created a My Calculator App.sln, a solution file for this solution package. All right, let's open up My Calculator. There you go. You can see all the information inside. And in fact, if I go into program.cs, I will have the console write line hello world. Let me just get rid of that for a moment. Let's actually fill this up with the proper information. So we're going to start with a namespace, and I'm going to call that namespace My Calculator, because that's the name of the project. Okay, and then we're going to have a class. So let's have actually we'll have a public class. And that public class I am going to call program. And then we'll use the braces to create the braces around that. Then I'll have a method called public static void main with braces. And inside of there, I'm going to have no information, because I haven't really got anything to put in here. Now, most of you will probably just work in this area up here with where all the files are kept. But I would recommend actually reducing that and using this one instead, the Solution Explorer, because this focuses on the project. Now you can see that it's got rid of all the stuff that we don't necessarily need to see at the moment for this application. And it's really simple and easily laid out. Plus also, if I go to My Calculator, which is the project, and I click on this plus symbol, this adds a new file. What it will do is it will give me a list of .NET file types that I can use. Now I want to use a class file. So I'm going to set up a new class. I'm going to call that class calculator. And I'm going to put the .cs at the end. Okay. Now, before I continue, I'm just going to close my program.cs and it'll probably ask me to save. Yep. So I'm going to say yes. Always good practice to save your work as you go along. All right. So I have now in my my calculator namespace a class called calculator. Now inside my calculator, I'm going to have two methods. So in my first method, I'm going to have a public int add, open bracket, and it's going to take in two variables, int x and int y, like so. And then what I'll do is I'll use the curly braces, and what we're going to do is return x plus y. I'll also do the same for subtract, and I'm going to have an int x and an int y. We'll have the curly braces, and that's going to return x minus y. I'm just going to press Control S to save that. Right, so now that I've got my two classes set up, I now need to set up my unit test environment. So I'm just going to close that. I press Control S, that allows it to save. Now in my solution up here, I'm going to right click on it and hit New Project. I'm going to create a new project, and it's a new test project. There are three different test types: MSTest, NUnit, and XUnit. The one I'm going to focus on is MSTest, so I'm just going to choose MSTest. So I'm going to use the standard test, and I'm going to call this my calculator tests. Okay, so it distinguishes between which class it's going to use. So I'll just press return. Now I'm going to use the default directory, which is the directory that this whole project falls under. So I'm going to say, yep, do that. And also create that project. Let's do it. And what it'll do is I'll have two projects now. I'll have an empty, well, it's not empty, it's got a test1.cs file, and it will also have this my calculator original project in place. I'm going to delete this because I don't want it. It's got all that information in it. I'm just going to delete it. First thing I need to do is join these two up because they're two projects within the same solution. So what I need to do is join them up so that they know each other exists. So I'm going to right click on the My Calculator, and I'm going to create a reference with My Calculator. So right click on My Calculator tests and create a reference to My Calculator, just like that. And you'll see here, we've now got a reference, a project reference with My Calculator.csproj. Sorry. Okay, so that's now set up. So now what I can do is I can add a new file here. Let's do that. And it's a test file. So let's just type in test. And the one that I'm going to use is MSTest class. So I'm going to click on that. The test I'm going to call this is just calculator test. Right? Now that's created my calculator test. Now you'll see that the namespace is incorrect. So I'm going to get rid of that company.test project. And instead I want to put in my calculator, calculator tests. So that is the namespace I'm going to use. The test method is going to be named after the function of the test. 2 plus 2 should equal 4. Nice and simple. And what I'm going to do is create an instance of the calculator inside of here. So I'm going to go calculator, and you'll see calculator now appears. When I click on that, look above the namespace. You'll now see it says using My Calculator. Automatically, because of those links between the two, it sets it up for me. So calculator, and it is going to be called calc equals new calculator. So that just creates an instance of the calculator. Then I need to use assert to create the test itself. So I'm going to say r equal, open bracket. Now the rule of thumb is the first thing that you enter in, let's get rid of that a moment. The first thing you enter in is the expected value. And if you remember from the 2 plus 2 should equal 4, the expected value is 4. Okay? And the way that we're going to get that is by using the instance of calc with the add method and then 2, 2 inside. All right, I just need to close off with one more bracket and a semicolon. Okay. Now, just checking all my semicolons, I should be good. Let's get rid of that brace a minute because that's usually a good way of making sure I've got them all. There you go. All right, so we now have a method called 2 plus 2 should equal 4. Now, I don't ever rely on one test case, so I'm going to put in 2. So I'm going to have another test method, and in this case, I'm going to create a 2 plus 2. Oh, not 2 plus 2, because we already created that. 2 plus 3 should equal 5. Just like that. And then inside of here, we'll create an instance of the calculator. And we're going to say assert.r equal 5, comma, and then we're going to say calc.add open bracket and get the order right. So it's 2 plus 3 should equal 5, 2, 3, and then semicolon. There you go. Okay. So now what I've done is I've created these 2 test cases. Okay. So we've got a test case for 2 plus 2 should equal 4 and a test case for 2 plus 2 should equal 5. All happy. The next step is to open terminal inside of here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a clean just to make sure that all the files and everything is okay. So .NET clean. Might not be necessary, but I do it just as a matter of course. And then I do a .NET build. And what that does is it just reinforces and builds all the files. Make sure they're all good. So as you can see, it's created, done it quite successfully. Happy days. All right, it's successful. So now what do I do? Well, if you notice, I've got like a little triangle just here, okay? And that is allowing me to run the test if I want to run it from there. But what I want to do is I want to see the test window. So I'm going to come up to here and choose View, and I'm going to choose Testing down here. Okay. Now you'll see that I've got my calculator tests up here. I'm going to drop those down, and I should have, oh, it says test method 1. Let me just refresh that a moment. So I'm just going to refresh the tests. There you go. If I drop that down, ignore the F sharp. We're not doing F sharp. We're just doing C sharp. So I can get rid of that, hide that test. There you go. So I have now got C sharp dev test, and we got the my calculator tests and so forth. If I want to run this, I can click on this button here and it will run the tests. And you can see the little clock symbol, which will turn into little green ticks. Now, the reason why I say actually run 2 tests is, we can't just rely on one bit of information. So I'm just going to go back to my Explorer, and I'm going to go into my calculator, and I'm going to change this plus to a multiply. And then I'm going to run it again. So we're going to go back to View Tests and run them all again. And what will happen is it will fail the test, but it will say that the 2 plus 2 should equal 4. And that's because 2 times 4 also 2 times 2 also equals 4. So that's going to create a problem for us. So we need to fix that problem. Okay, let's change that multiplication back to a plus. Whoops, not an equals, a plus. And then run them again. Boom. And happy days, all our tests are working. So it's really important to make sure that you do your tests. Also understand the nature of the application that you're writing, and also all the methods that you're writing. I would suggest creating tests for each of the methods that you're going to use, And this way, if anything changes in the future, any of those methods change, you can run your test to see if that's had an adverse effect on your tests. So with that in mind, everything should be good now for you, and you should be able to use VS Code to do unit tests. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And better still, if you want to see more of these videos, hit subscribe, okay? And you'll see more videos as I produce them. I do intend to run quite a few videos on C# over the next coming weeks, so enjoy. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and I certainly hope my student enjoyed that too. I will see you again. Take care.